What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to Bleacher Report. Probably the last time for at least this off season, I'm going to guess. I told you guys yesterday that it was probably going to be my last video before the season preview started, and I was like, you know what? Let me go on Bleacher Report. Let me see what's going on, and I see 30 overreactions to the 2025 NBA offseason. I figured, hey, what better way to kind of end our off-season coverage by seeing what we overreacted to? Because I'm sure we've been overreacting to things the entire summer. Obviously, we're in kind of the dead point of things now, but I'm curious to see, like, what are some things we need to rein ourselves in on before we start doing the season preview series. But before we do that, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. We've been covering this off season as much as we can. We've gone into extreme detail and tried to even come up with some silly things during this dead point of the year. But like I said, on Monday, the season preview series is back September 1st. We're going to be back to doing 5 videos a week for a little bit. Every single team is going to get a video where we're going in depth on a bunch of different things listed here. I'm looking forward to doing it. It should be a fun time. But again, before we do that, let's overreact to some things that were happening in the off season. Let's go into the main part of the video. Alrighty, this should be a fun one. What possible things have we overreacted to this offseason, just like off rip? Is it going to be like skinny Luka or something? I don't think so. I think getting in shape is an important thing. I'm trying to think of like what else, like what were the big moves this offseason? It didn't feel like there were like many shocking moves, and obviously there's still some things that need to happen with like Jonathan Kuminga and the restricted free agents. Not gonna lie, that's really annoying for me as I try to make my season preview series, because last year we started the season preview series like 2 weeks earlier because the NBA season had been dead, or not dead, but the off season had been just like finished for a while now, and now there's just like 5 people that we're waiting to sign still. But I think we know where they're going, so it's probably not a huge deal. But anyway, let's see what we got here. First up, the Atlanta Hawks. Our overreaction is they have a guaranteed top 4 spot in the East. I would say that that's probably fair to, if this is what's being said by someone, that they have a guaranteed top 4 spot in these. You guys know my whole thing with like 0 and 100 statements, meaning like, oh yeah, guaranteed something happens. That's just not like a smart way to debate or talk about anything, right? But let's act under the premise that they're saying like, oh yeah, Hawks have a pretty good shot of being a top 4 seed. I would say that is a bit of an overreaction. I think when you look at the East and the teams that they have, I think there's a lot of teams that will be kind of competing for those top 4 spots. I immediately think the Knicks, right? I immediately think about like, what was the team? I was just going to say the Cavs. I think about like Orlando being in there. I don't think the Celtics are going to be far off from that still. The Pacers could very well find their way into there again. If the Sixers are healthy, they could find their way in there. And don't get me wrong, I think that the Hawks certainly could. I don't think it's a guaranteed spot, though. When I think about their roster, I still wonder what happens, like, creation-wise when Trae isn't on the court. Are they going to evolve Trae Young at all? Are they going to become too much of a one-trick pony? Still, the roster is interesting. I love the Kristaps Porzingis addition for them. I think it's just such a low-risk, like, great move that gives them just a look that they haven't had on their team in a little bit, and I'm excited to obviously see more of Dyson, and hopefully Jalen Johnson will be healthy this year. Risa Shea, what's he gonna look like this next, or in his second season? I think there's a lot to be very curious about with this team, and I think they had an awesome offseason, one of the better off seasons amongst other NBA teams. But saying that they're a guaranteed top 4 spot, I'm still not so sure. I feel like there's maybe not enough motor to this team still to keep them moving, but I'll be curious. I'll be very curious to see where it is that they where they end up. All right, let's move on. The Boston Celtics, no more messing with the core. What does this mean? Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday got their walking papers. Yeah, basically Boston had to trade a bunch of people. Hopefully you guys have been watching my videos this offseason. I don't have to explain this in too much depth, but basically the reason Boston had to trade all those people, it was purely financial reasons, right? They just literally could not afford to operate this year, keeping everybody because of how the luxury tax rules work. So they kind of have this gap year because of Jason Tatum and the Achilles thing. So Jaylen Brown, Derek White still on the roster. Don't assume that it's set in stone. Tatum may not be himself until 27-28, blah, 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 at which point Brown and White will be earning a combined blah, 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 blah. It's hard to see how the Celtics could build anything close to contender-worthy supporting cast around a much older, potentially more broken-down core. So I don't get what they're saying. Are they saying that they're going to trade Jaylen Brown and Derek White, or just that more trades are coming for this team? Because we know more trades are coming for this team. Anthony Simons and Sam Hauser are going to be on the block this whole season because they're probably going to start the year with those guys on the roster because technically your tax status doesn't get measured until like the very last game of the regular season. So they probably keep Simons and guys like Hauser just because those are two guys that have like at least a little bit of money still in the books until pretty close to the trade deadline. They'll use as much of them as they can, then they'll offload them for something cheaper. There is like a little bit of inherent risk doing it then because teams know you're getting a little bit more desperate, but you're trying to be competitive too, and Anthony Simons can help you like win basketball games right now. So can Sam Hauser. And I'm not saying both of them go. I'm just saying if like at a minimum one of them is going, if not both. So I think they use them up, right, as long as they can and then move them. Again, is that going to be a problem come trade deadline because people will be a little bit more desperate? Perhaps, but, you know, there might also be teams that are bidding for their services. I don't know. I still need to see Anthony Simons on Orlando. I just can't believe that trade didn't happen. But whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, I would say the Celtics probably... I don't think there's been an overreaction. I think we have a pretty good idea of where they're going as a team. The Brooklyn Nets, they shouldn't have used all those draft picks. So what exactly is the overreaction? Like, we're overreacting to the fact that they drafted those 5 people? Because immediately, I don't think so. The Brooklyn Nets had 5 first-round picks in the 2025 draft, and they used every single one of them, becoming the only team in league history to have that many selections in the round. Yep, there's an argument to be made that all those rookies, many of whom will vie for playing time at point guard, will get in each other's way and collectively stunt development. There's so many minutes. There's only so many minutes to go around. On a basic level, Brooklyn's plan is at least interesting. Take 5 cracks at the cornerstone prospect lottery, and maybe you'll hit on one of them. Really, the Nets need a franchise centerpiece more than anything else, maximizing their odds. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I don't think there were too many of us saying that, like, hey, they shouldn't use all of those picks. I was one of them. I was like, hey, I think you should, like, drop this down to, like, 3, 4 most. So I had reasons for that of like, hey, like that's just a lot for a coach. It's not really going to be good for the team to have like that many rookies on it. It's just a lot to manage as you're trying to build a culture and things like that. But I also respect, you know, the fact that, look, they just don't have talent to build around right now. And the only way you do that is by drafting young people, right, and trying to develop them. We kept saying throughout the offseason, you're getting up to the plate and you're swinging, right? And they took 5 swings in the first round. So you would like to think you're going to get a hit on one of those. The confusing thing is like kind of how they went about doing it, because they're all such similar players, and yes, they're not going to all get to kind of play their play style. So you could say like, oh, well, the best one is going to kind of emerge from it, and that's all that really matters. But I don't know. It feels weird then to just have used kind of all of those picks. I don't know. It just makes it seem like you didn't completely know what you wanted to do with the draft, and that you didn't have a good sense about any of these guys, because there is good talent, I feel like, available at all of those picks. And you guys know I didn't really care for many of their draft picks overall. Honestly, the 2 that I liked the most were towards the end of the first round in Nolan Traore and Danny Wolf, and it just doesn't feel like they're going to be able to support them very well, right? And so I feel like what needs to be done is you need to have good scouts and good evaluators to say, okay, what's the talent? Who are we going to take, and how are we going to support them to have the best chance of growing that talent as possible? And so, I don't know. I just don't feel like they did that. If the question is they shouldn't have used all of those picks, I still say they shouldn't have used all of those picks. I just feel like it's not the greatest asset management I've ever seen. But who knows? Maybe it'll work. Maybe 1 or 2 of these guys come out of it, and they're going to be nice prospects for them going forward. I have my personal doubts about it, but, you know, I can be wrong. That's totally a thing that happens on a daily basis. So I don't know. I don't think we overreacted to the Nets situation. It was dumb. Charlotte Hornets, they're miles from playoff contention. I guess like, what does miles mean, right? I guess I don't know. What are we kind of talking about here? The Charlotte Hornets are operating carefully these days, following a longer-term vision that requires a level of patience they didn't possess until roughly 2 years ago. Yep, I completely agree with that. When a team makes a habit of operating this way, picking up stray second rounders here, absorbing bad salaries there, it suggests competitive basketball is a long way off. Um, okay. What are they? They possess All-Star Catalyst, LaMelo Ball, Youngtown, blah 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 blah. Okay. I do think that them being like a good basketball team is probably a long ways away. Let's talk about what Bleacher Report mentions in this first paragraph here, because it's something we've talked a lot about this offseason. The Charlotte Hornets' new regime is really, really interesting. The Hornets have been a poverty franchise for a long time. We're still looking at them like that for the time being because, they have to prove it, right? That they're not going to do that. And for the foreseeable future, I'd presume that they're still not going to be a great basketball team. And, as soon as they start to turn things around, then we'll reevaluate. But this new regime has come in and they've been making quality move after quality move. At least all of those where you're kind of going on your calculator and saying, yep, all the math is adding up right now. You are following like a winning franchise's playbook right now. Like they said, absorbing all the second round picks, making the little good win trade, right? Making this little good win trade, getting the right kind of culture pieces in. And just from my own experience from like working within like the industry and everything, they're being really sneaky about everything. You can't hear like anything from the people on the inside, which is kind of odd, and they're even putting out like false information a lot of the time. So it's cool to see Charlotte playing the game, right? Like this franchise hasn't really been showing up to the table for a while. Now they seem to be playing the game a little bit, which is cool. And it seems like they're kind of in this state of, okay, let's evaluate what's going on right now. We joined in the middle of a rebuild already. Who do we like? Who don't we like? That's why their team is so like full of point guards and shooting guards right now. It's like what the Bulls have been the past couple seasons. And you look at it and you're like, okay, this roster doesn't really make sense. They don't really even have like a capable center on the team. How are they going to compete this year? They're just like, look, we were just making little winning move. We're building up our asset pool. All these people are going to get a chance to test themselves out, and we're going to pick the winners kind of out of it and see what we want to do long term. So I think that that's good. I think that they're doing the right thing there. But if we're overreacting to they're miles away from playoff contention, I don't know, because I feel like this franchise, at least this is what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to get to the point where we're moving LaMelo Ball before we're moving forward with LaMelo Ball as kind of the guy for this team. That's just what I think is going to happen. So I think it's more likely that they're going to kind of take some steps back and do a complete rebuild rather than try to figure out how to move forward with the rebuild that they're kind of already a part of. So I do think that they're probably a little ways away from playoff contention. The good news is that they've set themselves up well to kind of go in either direction if they want to. They're not committed to anything super long term, right? They've built up a lot of assets over the past kind of 2 seasons. So Hornets fans, be patient. I think you guys are heading in the right direction. Hopefully that the people making the decisions make the right decisions. So we'll see. Chicago Bulls, the botched Giddey trade. So is the overreaction that it was a botched trade? Because you guys know where my perspective is on this. I know a lot of people are like, this is a horrible trade. It's this. They didn't get a draft pick, yada, yada, yada. I was the one that got on the internet and said, look, you get draft picks to draft good young players, right? And you're kind of taking a swing like the Brooklyn Nets are just doing at trying to find a good young player. In the Caruso trade, you just got a good young player. You don't have to wait for a mystery box to open and maybe get a good young player. You already know that this guy's good at basketball. I'm not saying he's like a 1A, 1B option, however you want to put it, right? But we know that Josh Giddey is a pretty good basketball player at this point. We've seen him play good NBA basketball. Do I think that he's going to score like 25 points per game this year? No. I don't necessarily think so. He might have to at a certain point just because of how the Bulls roster is structured, but you got a good young player. So I think that the trade is good. The Chicago Bulls should have accepted one of several offers for Caruso that included multiple first-round picks. So on one level, it's not an overreaction to say they made a mistake. Well, I don't know what those picks are, so I don't know. It's even more tempting to criticize them now that Giddey remains unsigned. Yeah, the whole restricted free agency thing, like I said at the kind of beginning of this article read, is kind of annoying because the players are fighting over like probably very little wiggle room at this point, right? There's just nobody can offer these guys anything, so it seems very it's not very advantageous for people to hit restricted free agency at this point with how the CBA is set up. Long story short, maybe we could do another video talking about that at some point, but I don't know. I think Giddey will most likely be back in the Bulls. If I had to guess, I think they're going to settle on something like 24 to 25-ish million dollars, but he'll be able to control like the last year of the deal or something. So like his fourth year will be a player option would be my guess. So I don't think he's going to get anywhere near his 30 million. I just think that'd be a complete like negotiation mismanagement. And I don't think that we can say that the Bulls have like all the negotiating room either, because look, if he takes the qualifying offer and then just like dips on them afterwards, like that's so incredibly dumb. That's how GMs get fired. So I don't see that happening, but let's see. But Chicago is doing exactly the right thing by playing hardball with Giddey. Yeah, they're doing the right thing, even after his breakout second half of the season, which again, usually end of an NBA regular season, not quite real basketball. We see a lot of kind of phony things take place, if you will, so we'll see if it's real. Every player's worth depends on what he does, blah, 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 blah. We don't credit the Bulls for much around here, but their unwillingness to compound a bad trade by Again, I don't think the trade is, like, bad. Again, you got the good young player. That's the point of the draft picks, is to get good young players. Maybe the timeline doesn't make sense, which I think there's a conversation there, but I still don't think the trade was bad by any means, and it seems more like the article is suggesting that, like, the way that they're handling the contract negotiations is bad. So, no, I don't think it's a problem. Giddey will most likely be on the Bulls this next year, because where else is he going to fucking go, right? Is he going to go to Brooklyn? Brooklyn offers him something, brings in another point guard? How funny would that be? I'm here for it, honestly. Let's see it happen. Cleveland Cavaliers. Lonzo Ball solves everything. Well, I don't know who's saying that necessarily. Lonzo Ball, if healthy, is a very, very valuable NBA player. And again, it's been a little bit since we've been at that point, but when he was, we had a 40% three-point shooter, whether it was like off the catch or off the dribble, right? He could play without the basketball. Obviously, one of the better passers in the NBA, one of the better defenders in the NBA. All those are super valuable in a 6'6" point guard that just really makes your offense chug, makes your star players' lives a little bit easier, right? We've seen that like guys like Darius Garland now know how to play with other ball-dominant guards. Donovan Mitchell, obviously being kind of a main guy, is great, and Lonzo Ball's a good guy to play off of them. The whole Ty Jerome situation this offseason played out exactly how we thought. They got a solid replacement for him in theory. If Lonzo Ball's healthy, great. Then I think, yeah, you've got a really, really valuable piece, presuming that he plays somewhat like what he looked like before. If he's not, well, then obviously he can't really solve anything because he's not healthy, right? I don't think there's anything more complicated to talk about with this. It's not an exaggeration to label Ball as one of the biggest swing pieces in the league. He has the potential to lift Cleveland to levels it hasn't seen in the past couple of years. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I mean, we saw what he did with that one half a season with the Bulls where they were the number one seed with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, because he just made everything for them so easy. And then the combination of him and Caruso being the crazy perimeter defenders, getting all those steals, were also just like huge for a Bulls team that didn't have a ton of defense to go around. So yeah, Lonzo Ball can be a big difference maker. It doesn't completely solve everything. It's just a health question. So yeah, I don't really have much else to add on that one. The Dallas Mavericks, too many centers. Who's saying they have too many centers? I don't think anybody can complain about having too many centers if you're a good basketball team, because there's just not many centers to go around. We talked about this the whole offseason. Like, bigs are just harder to find, and there's an economics reason behind that too. There's just less like 7-foot tall people in the world, right? And so finding good ones is hard. Obviously, the Mavericks got their Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, Anthony Davis. Obviously, guys like PJ Washington and Cooper Flagg are going to factor into some of those like forward minutes. Then that prohibits some of these guys from all being on the court together. I do think you're going to see PJ Washington maybe playing some forward minutes alongside two bigs this season, because why not, right? But it'll be interesting to see kind of how they experiment with it. But I don't think they have too many by any means. They're all on pretty friendly deals. Derek Lively continues to get better. Obviously, Anthony Davis is your best player on the roster. And Daniel Gafford, one of the best, like, just rim defenders in the league, does a really cool thing where he can just rim run and really play underneath the hoop like anyone, or better than anyone in the NBA at this point. And I don't see a problem with this. Why would there be a problem with this? It might be a problem if you looked at the rest of the roster and you said, okay, they're really lacking depth here, but they're really not. Their wing rotation is good. Their guard rotation isn't bad, considering like Kyrie Irving isn't going to play for a good chunk of this season. You still got D'Lo, you still got Brandon Williams, still got Jaden Hardy, you still got Max Christie, right? Klay Thompson can play like a little bit of guard at this point, right? He's not the defender he once was by any means, but obviously he can still do a lot for you offensively. But yeah, no, I don't see a problem with this whatsoever. It just seems like they have a lot of depth on their roster. Like, I guess Dwight Powell's on the team too, and maybe you'd like to move that like $4 million elsewhere. Cool. Good luck finding a place for it at this point in the season. Maybe later in the season. Don't the Mavericks like have to like move one person on their roster? I feel like because Dante Exum still can't sign because they have 15 guys on the roster or something. So somebody has to move. Maybe it'll be Dwight Powell. I don't know. Send him over to Brooklyn or something like that, because why the hell not? Denver Nuggets. The bench is fixed. Well, again, what does fixed mean? I presume they're saying like, oh yeah, no, their bench is going to be fine now. Look, they were never going to have like a superstar studded bench, right? But it's infinitely better than where it was, right? Because last year the bench was Russell Westbrook, and then you hoped that Peyton Watson would do a little bit of something for you offensively, because defensively he was pretty meh. Julian Strawther couldn't quite get anything going this last year. You had no backup big options, really. DeAndre Jordan for like 2 minutes at a time was kind of your best option, and Deron Holmes was hurt, so yeah, that was your bench. I'm still kind of bummed that like Westbrook isn't coming back to this team. I know it wasn't a perfect fit at all times, but I thought during the regular season it was a great fit, and it feels like they could still use another ball handler on this team. And I know they still have an open roster spot, so hopefully they find like another kind of point guard option, but it does feel like they're lacking in that department a little bit. But talking about the people that they added this offseason, right? Tim Hardaway Jr. is a more than capable player that if he's just kind of playing catch and shoot ball off of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and guys like that, yeah, no, that's awesome. And obviously all of these moves that we're talking about happened because of the Michael Porter Jr. Cam Johnson trade, which I think is a good trade overall because it allowed you to build off the bench. You do have Jonas Valanciunas on the team now, who isn't going to do anything like super spectacular for you, but at least when Jokic is off the court, you're going to have a guy that's going to get you a shit ton of rebounds, set good screens, things like that, right? So you do have a backup big option, which is great. Who else am I forgetting to talk about here? Oh, they got Bruce Brown back. Like, if Bruce Brown's healthy, then that's going to be a really nice thing for them. Obviously, Deron Holmes, their first-round pick from the previous year, is going to get to actually play this year. We hope he's going to be somewhat solid. So look, you got 8 or 9 capable players that you can kind of throw into the roster this year. You hope that Julian Strawther continues to get better. You hope that guys like what's the little motherfucker's name, the little guard, I can't remember. I'm not too big on him. I can't remember the little motherfucker's name. I want to say he wears like number 4 or something like that. Is it 4? I can't remember. But the little guard off the bench, I don't know. Maybe he'll be something this year. Some Nuggets fans are hoping so. I'm a little bit hesitant on it, but we'll see. Maybe Peyton Watson continues to get better. There's a lot of opportunity for this to be a more than capable NBA bench, and considering how good the starting 5 is, I think you're in a pretty good spot overall. So I don't think it's an overreaction. I think the Nuggets had a phenomenal offseason, and I think that they're in a pretty good place overall. I don't think you could have done much better than what you did, considering everything. If you would have found a way to trade Zeke Naji, oh my God, it might have been one of the greatest off seasons ever. Anyway, the Detroit Pistons, Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren aren't part of the future. I'm so confused on like how they're wording these things. Are people saying this and that's what we're overreacting to? Or is this them saying we're overreacting to someone else? Blah, blah, blah. One logical conclusion would be that neither Ivy nor Duren feature in Detroit's long-term plans. Why? Which meant both players are eligible for extensions this offseason. If you weren't aware of that, it's probably because there was almost no chatter whatsoever about either of them getting years and dollars added to their deals. That's a possibility. Plenty of blah, 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 blah. Ivy and Duren could blow up this season, remove any doubt about... Who's talking about this in Detroit? Are people saying that these guys aren't a part of their future? I'm not saying that it's like a for sure, but Jalen Duren had like quite a nice jump this last season, and he's a pretty productive part to their team. He's one of the better like offensive centers in the NBA because of just his sheer What's the term I'm looking for? It's really early in the morning for me to be doing this, so I apologize that I'm just fucking all over the place right now. But he was just one of the more like effective offensive players in basketball. And yes, he doesn't play a very complicated role, but he was really good at what he did, right? The defense still kind of coming along there. At least it had some energy this time, right? And once we kind of learn a little bit more about pick and roll coverage, I feel like it could be good. Jaden Ivey was really good in the bits that he played this last year. The defense wasn't necessarily the greatest, but the Pistons were still kind of figuring that out early in the season in general. So if you're getting anything close to what Jaden Ivey was showing you at the beginning of last season before he got hurt, why wouldn't he be a part of the future? Is it because we can't comprehend the fact that he's like a point guard type player and Cade's a point guard type player, and so how do you put those two together on the court? Well, believe it or not, like you can find a way, right? So I don't understand why they wouldn't be a part of the future. I know that they didn't get like extensions or anything, but does that mean that that doesn't mean that they're not part of the future? It just means they're not talking extension right now. We want to kind of play out and see what's going on, right? So maybe these guys really burst out onto the scene and it's great, but also we just talked about restricted free agency and how advantageous it is for the franchises to just let their guys hit restricted free agency right now, because these guys have no leverage whatsoever. So the teams themselves will probably get a better deal just letting them hit restricted free agency. So that's probably the strategy behind it. So yeah, if people are overreacting to this, I guess you're just kind of a dum-dum. I don't know what else to tell you. The Golden State Warriors. The Warriors bungled the Kuminga situation. I guess we don't know because we don't know what's happened. I do think that it's crazy that they didn't trade him like during the season this last year. I didn't understand the point to holding on to him. He clearly didn't want to be there. He wasn't helping the team at all. And let's just get it out in the open. Jonathan Kuminga is a very talented basketball player, does not know how to play in the Warriors system, and the Warriors are also at fault because they're a team that does not adjust to the type of players that they have. That is something that we've learned. They won championships because they brought in all the perfect pieces to play the system, right? Now they're trying to continue to play the system, but they don't have the players to support it. As a coach, you need to adjust. That's just what you have to do, right? You have to play something different, but they have Steph. Steph wants to do what he wants to do. That's understandable too. I totally get it. So just move Kuminga. I didn't understand why you couldn't find an opportunity to do that. Just anything is kind of better because he's just a negative for you on the court. He doesn't play in the system. He messes it up. He just kind of tries to create things himself, right? He's not improving as a player. So it is what it is. And when I say he's not improving as a player, we're not seeing any actual development out of him. He just is playing. He's just been playing basketball for longer. So certain things are clicking that didn't click before, right? But there's not a noticeable improvement in his game overall. So it's better for him and the team just to move on from him. It is pretty wild to me that they haven't been able to kind of find a team to trade him to this offseason. I figured he would end up on the Bulls or the Nets for sure. Or maybe the Hornets were another team that we kind of threw out because they were oh yeah, they can kind of make the salary stuff work. There's kind of positional openings for these guys. Why the hell not kind of take a flyer on him? But they haven't been able to figure it out at all. And now we're in this state of the Warriors have offered him basically the most money that they can logically offer him, because if they offer him anything more than, I want to say it's a 2-year, $45 million contract, they just won't be able to sign the 3 to 4 other players that they're waiting to sign until they figure out what they're doing with him. So he isn't going to get offered more money. He just literally isn't by anybody. So I don't understand what the point is. Just figure out what you guys are going to do, right? If he just accepts the qualifying offer, that's a disaster for the Warriors, right? It just is, because now it's really hard to trade this guy, and he's probably just going to walk away at a certain point. But even then, I don't think he's going to get the money that he's expecting. So somebody just trade for the guy, please. I don't want to see him back in the Warriors this year. So things look terrible now, blah, 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 blah. He's going to accept the 1-year qualifying. Yes, the Warriors should have traded Kuminga over the past couple seasons. He might have been a key piece in a deal for Markkanen last summer. Before that, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. It was impossible to feel great about committing to Kuminga, and it was impossible to give up on him. Well, I personally said that I didn't understand the fit or whatever, so it is what it is, but I also understand there's a lot of talent there that you don't want to give up on. So, yeah, just move Kuminga. Somebody take Kuminga away from the Warriors, please. I just don't want to watch it this year. The Houston Rockets, the scoring problem is solved. Well, again, who's saying this stuff, right? Are people just saying like the Rockets are going to win the finals now? Because yes, they did not have somebody that could just go get you some buckets last year. They were the number 2 seed. They were an elite defensive team. When the playoffs came around, our hypothesis came true that in crunch time, they just had no way to go get offense. Fred VanVleet was their best option, and that's not going to cut it. No offense to Fred VanVleet. It's just not. They have Kevin Durant on the team now. Hooray! Yeah, one of the best scorers, if not the best scorer in NBA history, right? Obviously, he's a little bit older now. He's still probably the most like efficient scorer in the NBA. Like, in all honesty, just go look up a heat map of the dude. He's scoring like 27 points per game, and he's just like red hot from everywhere at all times because he's just a master of scoring. So yes, you did get a guy to go do it. You're going to need more than that. You're going to need Amen Thompson to get a little bit better, right, on the offensive end, just in terms of pure creation. I think that you're going to get to see that. I'm not sure how much more you're going to get out of Şengün. Maybe he can become a more reliable outside threat. That would be nice. Just thinking through the rest of the roster, there's not a ton of other offensive generating power there, so you're going to have to find it somewhere else. But this team is also in a pretty good spot in terms of asset management, where you should be able to make some moves this season if the right people become available to kind of help support this team. If we're truly all in on trying to win a championship right now, then great. Yeah, I don't see why not, right? Let's go do that. So yeah, I don't think their scoring problem is by any means fixed. Like, if Kevin Durant is your number 1 scorer going into the postseason, there's worse places to be. I also think though that we need a more obvious kind of second guy on the team still. And again, maybe that's Amen Thompson this next year. I guess we'll find out. But I would have hesitations if that was the entire plan going into the postseason this next year. But yeah, I don't know. You should still be excited if you're a Rockets fans. You're going in the right direction. Indiana Pacers, the offense is cooked. Okay, well, if people are saying that, I don't believe that at all. Halliburton, your best player, out for the season, right? Miles Turner, your center for a long time, he's gone. You handled that situation horribly. Like, we can all agree, the Miles Turner situation was so dumb by the Indiana Pacers. It just was. It was just a slap in the face to a guy that's been with your franchise for forever, been with you through all the ups and downs, and just brought you to the finals, and you didn't want to reward him at all. Fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. Their offense is definitely not going to be cooked. If they come in running the same thing that they were running this last year, get up and down the court a bunch, drive and kick, that's their kind of thing. They have all the pieces still to kind of make that stuff happen. So I'm not worried about that. Not having Miles Turner means that your team is going to be just a little bit worse, right? Because who's going to be their starting center this next year? Is it going to be Jay Huff? Jay Huff is fun. Don't get me wrong. He's a cool player. If you haven't watched like him play at all, actually probably better than you might think just looking at his stats. So I encourage you to go look into him and all of his reverse dunks that he loves to do. And he can step out and hit threes, which is great as well. But no, their offense is going to be just fine. They still have capable point guards in Andrew Nembhard and TJ McConnell, who are going to be able to kind of initiate all this stuff. Everyone else knows the system. You still have a Pascal Siakam and kind of a go-to offensive option whenever you need. So I think the offense is going to be just fine. It's just come playoff time, you don't have that top-end talent. I think it's going to be difficult for them to make it as far as they did last year. Could they make the playoffs? Yeah, I don't see why not. I really don't see why not. I think that Andrew Nembhard could be one of those MIP type players. He's just going to get a lot more usage than he did when Tyrese Halliburton was there. And just from what I saw in the playoffs, I think he could. I think he could fill into that role, at least like it'd be a slightly different role, but I think he could fill into it pretty well. So no, I think the Pacers offense is going to be just fine. I have questions about the rest of the team though, and how far they can realistically go. So that's what I'm saying. LA Clippers, top 4, here we come. Again, I'll say this, kind of like what we talked about with the Hawks. If we're just being absolute about things, well, yeah, sure, I'm never going to agree to that they're a for sure top 4 seed. In my opinion, the Clippers have the best roster on paper. It's the oldest team that we've ever seen going into an NBA season. It feels like they have 2 starting 5s on this roster. Like, that's how deep this team is. There's a lot of names that we recognize. Roster looks great. Injuries, right? It's just all going to come down to injuries. Is this team going to be healthy? We don't know. Are they all going to be able to play together? It doesn't seem that hard. Like this feels like that Dallas Mavericks situation back when they had Dirk and they kind of put together that team of old guys. I'm talking like Jason Terry, Jason Kidd, Sean Marion, right? All them dudes, when they kind of went and won the finals against the Heat that year. That's what this kind of feels like with Kawhi, hopefully kind of being that Dirk type player. Kawhi did look a step slower this last year, but still obviously a really, really good basketball player. He's apparently been making sure he's in shape this whole offseason. Great. That's awesome. How's Harden going to be? Is Chris Paul going to be a guy that can remain healthy? They obviously lost Norman Powell, but brought in John Collins, which I thought was a nice move, even though Norman Powell was really good. Norman Powell became a redundancy in the playoffs because, look, in the playoffs, you lean even more on the hits, if you will. And so guys like Harden, guys like Kawhi had the ball not just 80% of the time, but like 95% of the time. So Norman Powell's like, okay, what's the point of me? John Collins is going to be a better fit for that. If Zubats keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to be great. You have a Brook Lopez coming off the bench now. There's a lot to like about this team. Obviously, Bradley Beal is here now. We didn't even talk about him. Bradley Beal's still a really good NBA player. And now we don't have to shit on him because he makes like $50 million or whatever. This dude's like he's still a walking bucket in the NBA. So there's a ton to love about this team. If they're healthy, I don't see why they can't be the number 1 seed, honestly. But again, that's a big if. Are they going to be healthy? Are they going to get in a groove? We don't know. We just don't know. So that's what I have to say. But wow, what an offseason for the Clippers. Their team is stacked. The Lakers, LeBron James is getting traded. Who's saying this stuff? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. If LeBron got traded, that would just be, I don't know. That just sounds like such a PR nightmare to deal with as a team. I don't understand how that would happen. I think LeBron James kind of just controls his own destiny with the team. Look, if LeBron says that he wants to be traded, cool. Okay, then we can talk about it. But until then, I don't buy it. I hate that we have to play this same song and dance every offseason and that the media buys into it every year where they're like, well, I'll get that Twitter report from Shams or something like that says like, LeBron James and his camp are monitoring the Lakers offseason. Shut the fuck up. Just stop posting that shit. Like, yes, I'm sure that, like, the front office and LeBron were having talks, and LeBron's like, hey, let's make sure we have a good offseason, right? And the Lakers are like, yeah, dumbass, we'd also like to have a good offseason. I'm not saying that that's what they actually say. I'm just dramaticizing the situation, right? They're like, yeah, no shit, dude, we understand. We want to win some fucking basketball games, too. And so they're like, okay, cool. Make sure of it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be happy. And they're like, yeah, samesies. Okay, bye. Like, that's it, right? LeBron wants the team to be good. The Lakers would also like to be good. That's what they're trying to do because winning a championship with LeBron James is good for your team. So I don't want to talk about this one anymore. It's just kind of fucking stupid. The Memphis isn't sold on its core. Again, I don't know how to read this shit. Like, so is that the overreaction? So they are sold on their core and they should be like thrilled with it? So that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. This team hasn't accomplished anything. No shame on them. They've just been dealing with like injuries and that sucks or whatever. But if we're saying that this team's just like good to go, that's definitely not the case. So what are we talking about? Ja Morant no longer resembles the surefire franchise icon he appeared to be a couple years ago. Yeah, despite what some Grizzlies fans think, that's the case because Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best player on this team night in, night out. Multiple injury-plagued seasons and conduct-based suspensions, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Desmond Bane isn't on the team at all. Yeah, that was fine. I thought that move made sense. Desmond Bane and Ja Morant didn't look bad, but it didn't necessarily seem like they complemented each other either, so it's just better asset management to get him out of here. Jaren Jackson got his extension, so the Grizzlies have one cornerstone they believe in, which I agree with. Jaren's awesome. I know people sometimes will be like, AVC, Jaren Jackson Jr. only gets this many rebounds. I looked it up on ESPN, and he only gets this many rebounds. Do you know how tall he is, AVC? He should get more fucking rebounds. Hey, Billy, shut the fuck up. You're a dumbass. Your nana's a hoe. All right? I've had more people saying that they want more of the high-pitched AVC voice, so there you go. Yes, I understand Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't get a ton of rebounds. You dumb fucks, though. Like, there's more complexities to that stuff than you realize. Some guys aren't asked to do that as much as others. I don't know what the Grizzlies necessarily tell him to do night in and night out, but it's just not that simple. It's just not. They might tell him to that he needs to leak out a little bit more, do other things. That's totally a potential thing. But anyway, just because Bane is gone and Morant's Q rating is down, it doesn't mean the Grizzlies are pivoting away from the young talent. Well, yeah, they shouldn't. I'm not saying you got to trade Ja Morant or anything. It's just like, why would you be sold on this team? I don't understand. Again, you have not actually like really accomplished anything yet. There's some stuff to like. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a ton to like. I think it's a deep basketball team that has some flaws. So I guess we'll see. But no, try at least with this year, and then we'll figure it out after this season. And try not to fire a coach right before the playoffs this time. That would be advantageous to me. The Miami Heat, this is a gap year. I don't think this is a gap year at all. What would it be a gap year for? What are you waiting for? What happens after this year? Miami traded an injured Haywood Highsmith to duck the luxury tax. That trade was still kind of weird to me. Like, I can't believe you had to pay somebody to take Haywood Highsmith. I understand he was injured, but like, Haywood Highsmith was a good 3-and-D wing. Those are pretty valuable. I couldn't believe that trade wasn't Fontecchio instead, because Fontecchio also would have helped them dodge the luxury tax or whatever, but whatever. I don't understand. Between Davion Mitchell, Hero, Norm Powell, Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, Miami should be competitive with all the toughest teams in the East. I completely agree. With the Celtics and Pacers taking a step back, the Heat might even be friskier than it seems. Completely agree. Don't forget potential trade candidate Kel'el Ware. What? Who could be a key to Miami snagging a star upgrade? Okay, I didn't know we were trading him now. And don't rule out the win now contributions from the roster's younger options like Pelle Larsson, Jovic, Jaime Jaquez, or Kasparas Yakichonis. Yeah, I think like a good chunk of these guys will get to play this year. The Heat only keep their powder dry until they're ready to fire away at meaningful targets. Don't assume they'll just throw this season away. They got Norm Powell for nothing. Like, this team was competent last year. They definitely got better overall by having him. He addresses an issue that they had. They've got some guard options now they can throw out there. If a Terry Rozier trade ends up happening, and they can better use that salary cap, like, this team's still going to be very competitive. The Miami Heat don't really do gap years, so who's saying this? Like, again, what's the gap? What's on the other side of the chasm? I guess I don't understand. So yeah, no, I don't necessarily see that being the case. Oh wow, this is gonna be a long ass video, isn't this? This is gonna be more of a podcast type thing. I'm at like 42 minutes of recording already, so eesh. Okay, well, you know what? One last big video until the season preview. So you know what? I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm putting this out on a Friday. Help you get through your Friday, enjoy the weekend, all that shit. I'm gonna switch my desk to sitting position though. Don't mind me just waiting for my desk to lower here. Oh, it didn't lower all the way. All right, we're breaking the fourth wall a little bit because it's a longer video, and you know what? I just don't give a fuck. I just try to keep it real with y'all. It's little tangent or whatever. I'm going into my third season covering the NBA on YouTube, which is kind of a crazy thing in and of itself, right? I hope you guys still know that, like, I'm never going to change. Like, this is kind of how I cover things. I try to be real. I try to be transparent with everything. So yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoy it. Anyway, let's move on. Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is staying. Well, for the foreseeable future, that appears to be the case. Because if you tried to execute on a Giannis trade right now, that would just be like a disaster, right? Like, teams would not be prepared for it. It just wouldn't go well for really anybody involved, I feel like. If we're talking like forever, sure, like, he could move at any point, right? He could request a trade at some point. This roster doesn't look great, right? I think we can all agree on that. I think the Bucks did the best job that they could this offseason because it was a complicated thing to be. Here's what I should say. They did the best that they could to be as competitive as they can be this season. Long term, I think they fucked themselves a little bit with the Damian Lillard thing. I'm not going to lie. It baffles me that you're going to pay, like, what is it? It's like $22 million over the next, like, each of the next 5 seasons. So you're just missing out on that starter money every single year just to not have Damian Lillard and to have Miles Turner. Again, Miles Turner he's a nice player. He's a nice pickup. Guys like that just don't always become available. Totally understand that. But man, it just does not seem advantageous or whatever. But I don't know, especially with certain guys like hitting restricted free agency and them just having like no options for anywhere to go. Maybe cap flexibility isn't the worst thing for you long term, but I get it. You're just trying to play this year by year. I get it. I'm not judging the Bucks front office for anything. So, do I think that Giannis is going to stay here for forever? I don't know. I mean, it could truly be either. I feel like he's a guy that would like to be, but I don't know the motherfucker. So he could do whatever. If the Bucks aren't good, yeah, he'll probably try to go somewhere else, right? And the Bucks very well might not be very good this year. They've got a lot of competent NBA players, but I mean, oof, it's not looking pretty. It is not looking pretty. So anything could happen. I'm sure they're going to be looking at all times to add the right pieces around him. So Bucks, I'm sure you'll be active. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they lost ground in the West. Why? Why would they have done that? Nickeil Alexander-Walker left in free agency. Expected, right? And they have guys that can replace him, so we're not worried. Mike Conley is coming off his least productive season of his career. Yeah, he looked rough at the end of the season, I'm not going to lie there. The point guard position is definitely a question for them. I don't think Conley is quite that guy anymore, and I think Rob Dillingham is probably not ready yet. You've got some interesting options that you can throw there. You can do more Ant there. You can do more DiVincenzo there, right? Still a little bit iffy with the Oklahoma City Thunder, still doing their thing. A full season of Jimmy Butler in Golden State. Sure, we don't know what the rest of the roster looks like. The Rockets have KD now. When Wembanyama's getting back, I don't think San Antonio is a huge threat yet, but we'll see. And no let up in a win now posture for many of the LA teams. It feels like Minnesota's in a worse position. No, I don't think so. Nas exit hurts less with Terrence Shannon looking like, yeah, I think Terrence Shannon's honestly going to be better for them overall. Rob Dillingham should mitigate. Nope, I disagree with that one. Don't forget the potential for Anthony Edwards to climb another rung. See, that's what I'm thinking is more so going to happen. I think we're just going to give Ant the ball a little bit more, and I know I say it in like every video. I just hope and pray that Finch and their whole staff were just locked in this whole offseason on developing an actual offense for this team to run, because they don't run an offense. They just don't. If they do, it's not up to par with NBA standards. They need to figure out something to make it easier for people to score on this basketball team. Please, 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 please. But anyway, no, this team's still like loaded and really, really good. So I'm not really worried about the Timberwolves. I think that they still are true contenders going into this next season. So there you go. New Orleans Pelicans. This is the bleakest situation in the West. Well, if that's what people are saying, then yeah, I would agree, because that's Sacramento. The Sacramento situation is worse. But New Orleans, you're not getting off scot-free. This shit is not good either. Here's the good news. You have Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson is a really, really, really good basketball player, right? Probably top 10 in the NBA if he's healthy and playing. There is nobody that can stop this guy from doing what he wants on the basketball court. But he obviously has off-the-court issues, and sometimes he has tummy issues. So those are things that you have to overcome, and the rest of the roster is weird and always injured. You had an interesting rookie center in Yves Missy. Not the most ideal fit next to Zion. It's hard to fit people around Zion, if I'm being honest, right? But you had him. You traded your first-round pick next year to go get Derek Queen. That move just did not make sense. It just didn't. If Derek Queen becomes a stud, good for you. You still executed a trade that just didn't need to happen. You just kind of overpaid for it, and it's because your front office is obsessed with people from Baltimore, and they're just not very smart. But hey, if it works out, it works out. You also took Jeremiah Fears, and it seems like, at least from my opinion, and again, nothing's happened yet, but this is my assumption, is that the Pelicans are about to execute what teams fuck up with young players all the time, and that's where they take young, interesting basketball player that they're like, oh yeah, this guy looks good, and then they bring him to the NBA, and they're like, okay, you're gonna do this, and Jeremiah Fears is gonna be like, hey, my job is to like get downhill, have the ball, kind of execute that way, and they're gonna be like, ooh, well, that's kind of Zion's space. He likes to kind of be around there, and we don't really have a center that can space the floor for you either. We're not going to really let you run like pick and roll type stuff, because that's not necessarily what we do. Jordan Poole needs to have the ball a little bit. DeJounte Murray needs to have the ball and operate in those areas when he's there. So this guard, I feel like, isn't going to get to do the couple things that he does well already, and it's going to fuck his development. That's what I think, and I just don't understand how Derek Queen fits on the team. I don't. Derek Queen's a hard guy to make fit anyway, but I guess we'll see. Again, there's a lot of interesting players on this roster. Murray, Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion, right? The $8 million they gave Kevon Looney for no fucking reason. Like, there's a lot of interesting things here, but how does it all come together? We don't know. Are they all going to get injured? Probably. It feels like, because that's just what happens in New Orleans. We just might have to move this franchise, man. I don't know. Can we just move them somewhere else? I don't know. Or at least let them be called the Jazz again. I feel like everything would be fixed if they could go back to being the New Orleans Jazz. I don't know. It makes too much sense. But anyway, Let's move on. I don't want to talk about them anymore. New York Knicks, Jordan Clarkson will fix the bench. Who's saying these things? Maybe, look, I'm not on social media very much. Who's saying this stuff? Like, who's saying that Jordan Clarkson is going to fix the bench? I think Jordan Clarkson was a good addition, but he's probably not even going to be the best player off their bench. Probably not the best one of the best 2-3 players coming off the bench. It'll probably be Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, and it's probably going to be Yabusele, right? Like, those are like the three guys. Yabu was awesome last year for Philly. Jordan Clarkson hasn't been an efficient basketball player in a while, given he's been on a bad basketball team, so that obviously hurts the performance or whatever, but I don't understand, like, why we would be thinking that Jordan Clarkson is the end-all, be-all. Now, I do have a theory, because Jordan Clarkson's kind of a flashier, feed-off-the-crowd kind of guy. Him playing in New York, there's going to be some games where this guy's going and dropping 30-something points, and I think he's going to have a playoff game where he goes and wins one for you, because that's just what he's able to do as kind of that six-man creator score type role. Like, I think he's in a perfect spot, and I think he's in a perfect role, but him alone fixing the bench, I don't think that's going to be a thing. Again, I would say he's like the third or fourth option on the bench in terms of like what players are you thinking are going to be the most impactful. Mitchell Robinson being back for a full season, that's going to be a big deal. Deuce McBride, he's a big part of this team, and Yabusele, I think, is going to be a huge piece for this team. So again, Jordan Clarkson will be a big part of it too, but him alone, I don't necessarily think so. Maybe Clarkson still has his fastball. Maybe he'll rediscover his best self. Blah, 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 blah. But this is a player who's supposed to bolster a Brunson-less offense. But here's the thing. Like, when Brunson's not in the game, like, there's plenty of other basketball players you can put in to generate some offense. I mean, OG Anunoby's no slouch. Mikal Bridges can go do that shit for you. You have Karl Anthony Towns. Like, this isn't a hard issue to fix. So I don't understand. The Thunder, a repeat is inevitable. Okay, if that's... I get it. We have to kind of draw at straws to figure out issues with the Thunder's like off season. Look, it's never a guarantee to win an NBA Finals. They're going to be the favorites because they're bringing back the exact same roster minus Dylan Jones, add Thomas Sorber from this rookie draft. Yeah, Thunder had a pretty awesome offseason. We have no complaints. Even the fact that one of their first round picks from last year, they had to trade him and a pick to get off his money so they could have Sorber on the team. Like, for anyone else, that would be a disaster, but for the Thunder, that's just doing business. So do we really need to talk about it anymore? The Thunder are the Thunder. They're the best franchise in the NBA. They're running everything pretty perfectly. It's going to be another year of running for the top. I think Jalen Williams and Chet are only getting better. Shea is like just hitting his prime and could probably even do some things better himself, but why the fuck not, man? Let's run it back with this group and see what they do. I'm very, very excited. The Orlando Magic, the offense will be above average. Yeah, that is far from a guarantee on this team. Far from a guarantee. So, Orlando Magic, right? I'm not going to play the sound or anything like that. I just don't want to have to edit all that in today. You boys got shit to do. Leave me alone. But the Orlando Magic are in an interesting spot. I really do think so, because I like a lot of what they're doing. I like the culture that they've set here. They've got an identity, and that's such a big thing for young teams, and that's the fact that they're like, hey, hard-nosed defense, like grit and grind, that's like the shit that we do on this team. Cool. I love it. I fuck with it, right? Really cool. You've got two super interesting young players that are kind of like borderline all-star players now, in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Making them fit together on a basketball court is a little bit complicated for me to understand. I'm not saying it's not doable. It's just not a seamless fit, right? And on top of that, both of them are kind of similar types of players that you need to supplement with creators. We've talked about this a lot, and I'm stemming to the problem that Orlando had this last year. They couldn't generate offense, and they couldn't generate it well. They had no shooters on the team. That's a problem as well for two-star players that are not necessarily good outside shooters, right? Well, they're just not good outside shooters. They've had stretches where it's been better, but Consistently, not the case. Obviously, Jalen Suggs being down 2 doesn't help because we were hoping he could somewhat fill that role. We're not sure yet, maybe. But there was a lot of problems, right? This team could not score baskets. We get that, right? And there's a lot of reasons for that. They go into this offseason with what seems like an obvious plan, at least to me, of, hey, you need to get like a creating guard on this team that can generate some offense, get you open looks, make for other people on the team, make Franz and Paolo's lives easier, right? It seems like there's some obvious options there, and like a Kobe White or an Anthony Simons. Doesn't have to be like a great guy, just needs to be someone decent. They go and get Desmond Bane, who is kind of half of that player. He does get you some shooting. He's a good defensive player. He's a good basketball player. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't feel like the type of player that they needed necessarily, but he's close. And then they go and get Tyus Jones, who's kind of like the other half of that equation. So you kind of added 2, like, not incorrect pieces. They're correct pieces, but still not the perfect piece to things. So I still think we're going to run into some problems with this team overall. I really do. Unless we're going to see substantial changes in Paolo and Franz's game, which can happen, right? Because they're young guys. Maybe Suggs will be a completely different player this year. I don't know. But I still have reservations about this team, and I'm a little bit worried about some of the decision making that they've been kind of making. So I don't know. I have my hesitations about the Orlando Magic. I really do. But there's still a lot of good things. I don't think you're far off. I just think you need to make a couple more changes. Keep letting the young guys grow, right? But let's help them out, right? Like, let's really help them out by putting the right team around them. It's like what we talked about. You need to support your young players with the correct players around them. And not sure that they're doing that right now. Moving on. The Sixers trade everybody. Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that some people are saying that. We talked about it at the beginning of the offseason. We were doing Ideal Offseason, the most popular series on my channel. Always a lot of fun when we get to do those. I was one of the people that were saying, don't go and trade everybody. You didn't actually get to try the Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid experiment, so I think that you need to at least give it a shot. Now, if it just crashes and burns again this year due to injuries, yeah, I do think you try to pull the plug on it. I think that's going to be a lot harder than people think. Like, this isn't just a flush the toilet kind of thing. Like, it's just difficult to move these type of guys for anything. The good news is that you do have this young core of players that looks pretty promising, right? In Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain, hell, throw Justin Edwards in there. He looks capable. Adem Bona might be a capable NBA player at some point. So you've got like kind of the restart already, or the rebuild kind of already in a decent spot. So if you need to move on from those players, I think you'll end up in a pretty solid spot again already. So I wouldn't be too stressed if you were a Philly fan, but this kind of season determines a lot about your direction going forward. If PG can be healthy and contribute, great. Like, we know he's a good basketball player. Is Joel Embiid ever going to get back in the court? I don't know what's going on with that. I just don't know. And even if those guys are healthy, we still just do have questions. Is Joel Embiid one of those guys that is just too easy to game plan for come playoff time, right? We've kind of had those hypotheses about him for a while. Some of these players just are kind of that way. But I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think they should trade everyone. They need to at least give it a shot this year, and then this next offseason, if it was just a complete dumpster fire, then yeah, I'd say probably try to move on from a Paul George, Joel Embiid, which again, I don't know how exactly you do that, but I'm sure somebody could figure it out. I'm sure somebody could. But yeah, no, let's see what happens with Philly. They do have a good roster going into this season for the most part. The Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker is a Phoenix lifer. I'm sure Devin Booker, the fact that he keeps signing the extensions and everything, dude probably likes the money, probably likes being the dude here, right? I'd have to imagine. Not a bad place to live overall. I don't think I could live in Phoenix. Too hot for me. I like it a little bit more up north right now. It's the perfect time of the year. It's spooky season in the fall. I'm all here for it. I've been telling wifey we got to get on decorating. I'm a big Halloween guy, so I don't know. I don't like dress up or anything like that. I just like to watch like scary movies and shit like that, and eat like pumpkin pie or something like that. So that's spooky season AVC for you. I don't think anybody's a guaranteed lifer by any means. Devin Booker feels like one of the more likely people to stick around. It seems like there's agreement, at least in the fact that he keeps signing these extensions, that the team and him are aligned in what they're trying to accomplish, if nothing else. You can never be perfect in your execution, but I honestly think overall, despite everything that Phoenix has been through, they've done an all right job, like managing a lot of their assets, and they've done their best to kind of put a team around them. I think some of their coaching decisions have been pretty poor, honestly, but is what it is. This team is going to be messy this year, I would imagine. There's a lot of question marks. I don't exactly know what to make of a lot of this team, but for the time being, Devin Booker's here. They got Jalen Green on the team now. They've got big men on the roster. No point guards to really talk about that are that interesting, but, here we are. I'm curious to see where it ends up going. So Devin Booker, a lifer. I don't think that's guaranteed by any means. The Portland Trailblazers, this is a playoff team. Yeah, hell no. I'm not saying hell no, they won't be a playoff team. What is Zach LaVine doing right here? Holy shit. My man is creeping up on you right now. But this is by no means a guaranteed playoff team. It just isn't. I think Denny is a good basketball player. I really do. I've been saying this for a long time on the channel. You guys are aware of that. I think they have a lot of interesting pieces on this team. Is Drew Holiday going to help them win more basketball games than before? Probably. Are they actually going to be able to support Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe? I have my doubts, to say the least. I have my doubts. It still doesn't feel like this team is constructed to actually help kind of build upon some of the young players they have. Even if you were really that invested in developing Denny, right, who seems like kind of the most surefire, hey, this guy can get us 22 points per game in the NBA and be a solid contributing piece and maybe the closest thing to becoming an all-star on our roster, right? And again, even that's maybe a bit of a jump for his talent. You would go get a point guard, more so like Anthony Simons then, right? You would make him kind of the point on the team, a guy that doesn't necessarily need the basketball, but again, he'd be probably a better defender. I was just more so talking offensively. You'd just go find a more off-ball type of point guard that can do some things, right? So I don't know. You'd find more spacing on the team. I just think you do a lot of things differently. So I don't think I know what this team is trying to do. I can't quite figure it out. They very well could end up as a play-in team. I think that could be a spot where they end up. I also wouldn't be surprised if they missed the play-in entirely. The West is good, man. The West is really good. Just go do it for yourself. Rank out all the teams. Tell me which of the 15 teams Portland is clearly better than. It's just hard. Now, again, they have some talent. Things could work out. I hope Donovan Clingan comes into this season in shape. We've got an interesting rookie that we're going to watch this year for them. There's a lot of intriguing parts. I just don't think it fits well together. So I guess we'll see. Moving along, who else do we got? The Sacramento Kings. Hope isn't lost. Okay, so again, there's people saying hope isn't lost. No, it's absolute dog shit, y'all. It's dog shit. Did we see the Chicago Bulls? What? Oh yeah, we talked about Josh Giddey and all of that stuff. Okay, that's what we talked about. Yeah, no, it's bad. Sacramento, Chicago, it's bad for both of you guys. I'm just being real with you guys. I don't know where you're going. This team isn't going to work, most likely. We've seen this iteration of a basketball team before. I don't see it. I don't necessarily see it. It feels like just a really expensive, maybe not even playing basketball team. Your young players, I don't feel like are taking the steps that they need to, and mostly Keegan Murray, right? We'll see if Devin Carter's able to accomplish anything this season, having a full season to be healthy, at least we hope. I don't know. I don't know what the goal is with this team. If let's say you made the play-in, right? You got Sabonis, you got DeRozan, you got LaVine, you got a lot of guys that are really high-level offensive contributors, which are awesome. But you're not going anywhere, right? You're just not going anywhere. There's no future to this group. You need to tear it down. It's not good. It's just not good. The Fox situation sucked. I thought you did okay with it overall, but now you're just kind of stuck in this other position. Look, I get it's not easy to trade one of these guys, but I just think you should have traded Malik Monk this offseason, get something for him. Trade Sabonis. You'd probably get a haul for Sabonis. Sabonis is awesome. I understand it's hard to trade Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is a good basketball player in terms of the offense he is. I understand he's expensive though, and it's just hard to take in a player like that. DeMar DeRozan, you can do something to get some assets for him. We know what we're gonna get out of Debo. So I think you just have to move these guys. The defense will still get some capable play from Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, completely agree. And actually, let's not do this anymore. The straw man case to the Kings this season is as flimsy and combustible as an actual scarecrow, totally agree. Diehards will continue to believe that this group can achieve something, but anyone paying close attention knows Bulls West is in a tailspin brought about by shoddy ownership and the return of a coach GM revolving door. Yeah. back to being a poverty franchise, Sacramento. It's okay. I'm right there with you as a Bulls fan. So, Bulls and Bulls West, we stand united in the fact that our teams are going to be just irrelevant for forever. The San Antonio Spurs, the ascent is inevitable. I think the ascent is gonna happen. I don't know if it's going to happen this season. Again, this team is still so young. We're talking about Wemby's third season. The goal is to make the playoffs, right? To be in competing for a playoff spot. That's the goal, right? You have one of the best players in the NBA in Victor Wembanyama. Hopefully he's going to be healthy for a whole season. The rest of the team's still really young, right? You've got a second-year Stephon Castle, who, yes, he just won Rookie of the Year. It was one of probably and I'm not saying this to be mean or anything, it was probably one of the least impressive Rookies of the Year we've seen in a long time. So, again, I think Castle's going to be a nice player. It's just we still have a long ways to go with him. And that's fine. He just finished his first fucking season, right? Dylan Harper's a rookie. Carter Bryant's a rookie. Sohan is still young, right? Devin Vassell's a cool player, right? Keldon Johnson's he's a player. I do like that he shaved his head and wore number 0 this last year, though. For whatever reason, that made me think a lot higher of him, just because he kind of looked like Westbrook when he was out there, and that got me excited. But anyway. Fox is on the team now. That's going to be cool. He just will make your team better because he's a better player than you had before. I hope that guys like Champagnie get a couple more minutes because I think they're effective guys. You have somewhat of a competent backup center rotation. Now, again, we're going to say somewhat competent is probably the way to put it, but look, the West is still really, really good. Your team's still really, really young in general. Again, the ascent will take time. Just be patient, y'all. I know that we all want teams to be really, really good right away. It takes a long fucking time. It just does. Be patient. It'll get there. I think the Spurs are doing things the right way. The Toronto Raptors. The roster makes no sense. So that's the overreaction, because the roster doesn't make a ton of sense. Jakob Poeltl got a 3-year... Shout out to Jakob Poeltl's agent, man. This guy is just going to keep getting this guy paid. And Jakob Poeltl's a nice player, don't get me wrong. It's just no one else is going to pay him, most likely, just again, because of how the cap works and everything like that. So he's just got a home for forever because they can't find a replacement for him. And again, they don't necessarily need to, but you know what I'm saying. Let's see. Combined with uncertain efficiency from Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray... Oh, yeah, I forgot they drafted Colin Murray Boyles. Oh, I don't know how that one's going to work. Brandon Ingram's historically low long-range volume and 4 straight years in the bottom 10 of three-point accuracy. The Raptors seem to have... they're gonna have a clunky offense. Yeah, it's weird, right? I'm incredibly curious to watch this team. I've been saying it the whole offseason because we haven't really gotten to see the Quickly Barrett Barnes experiment very much. Now you've got Brandon Ingram on the team as well, which we don't know how that's going to go. And again, you took a rookie that I'm not sure where he fits, Grady Dick. Is he ever going to be a consistent offensive player? We're not so sure. This team's just weird. It's really weird on paper, but I just kind of want to see it play, because if you just threw the starting 5 out there, you have 5 good NBA players out on the basketball court, which is not always the easiest thing to do. They're more than capable NBA players that all have a very kind of unique skill set. They're none of them are normal positional players. Emmanuel Quickley is an off-ball point guard. RJ Barrett is kind of this downhill kind of slashing wing that doesn't necessarily run around screens or do things like that. You've got 2 point forwards on the team in Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes that neither of them like to play from the outside at all. And then you got Jakob Poeltl, who's kind of more of a traditional big man, if we could put him in a category, good defensive player. But I don't know, it's such a weird basketball team. So yeah, no, the roster doesn't make sense. Let's be clear about that. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand why they went for Brandon Ingram. It more so just felt okay, we can get Brandon Ingram for next to nothing, so why the hell not? And I can't disagree with that, but again, why? I don't know. We'll see. Where is this team going to finish? The 9th or 10th seed or something, maybe? Please don't let the Bulls finish there. Let the Bulls finish lower for once. I don't know. Utah Jazz, the tank will work this time. What does that mean? The Utah Jazz are going to lose a ton of games this season, and it'll likely be by design. Yep, some combination of Keontae George and Isaiah Collier will run the show, almost certainly, ensuring the offense will be controlled by inexperienced point guards. Yeah, and they'll probably turn the ball over a fuck ton, but it'll be kind of funny. Filipowski will get all he can eat with John Collins gone. Yep, they're going to give him a chance to be whatever. That'll mean big numbers on offense and catastrophic defense, and that's a big man that can't rebound. Defensively, this team could be a disaster, and that's with having Walker Kessler down there as one of the better defensive players in the NBA. But yeah, you think about the rest of the first 5, Collier, Keontae George, probably Ace Bailey, Markkanen, and then Walker Kessler. It's not very good defense. Then you're bringing in like a Bryce Sensabaugh, Walter Clayton. Walter Clayton, I think, will actually be an okay defensive player. Filipowski, like just some initial guys I'm thinking are coming off the bench. Like, yeah, defensively, you're going to have some problems this year, some real problems. So what are we saying the tank will work this time? Rookie Ace Bailey offers long-term promise, but all the questions about his shot selection and scoring efficiency will likely result in legitimate tank commander season. Yeah, of course. Assuming he gets a large role, he should... What? Assuming he gets the large role he should for developmental purposes. Okay, yeah. When Lauri Markkanen returns... Well, I can't fucking read today. I am so sorry. Whether Lauri Markkanen returns to all-star form or not, Utah has sufficiently sabotaged its roster. Yep, by design. That's pretty much the way things went last year for the Jazz, blah, 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 blah. Never forget... that failure doesn't guarantee... Okay, so they're just saying that, like, they're not necessarily going to become a contender by the end of their rebuild, which, like... Okay, yeah, so we just don't have much to talk about with the Jazz. The Jazz are doing all the right things right now. I'm not too worried about it. They did have a couple weird offseason moves. The Colin Sexton one was really strange, bringing in, like, Yusuf Nurkic or whatever, and trading a pick to go get him as well. I just didn't understand it. They're paying a guy more money and gave up a pick for just a better I don't get it. We talked about the trade. Go watch the video if you're confused as to what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, I think the Jazz are fine overall. The rebuild is starting now more so. Ace Bailey's the center point of it right now. They're going to try to be the worst team in basketball again because, look, nobody's coming to Utah. Free will, right? So you're going for one of the top guys of next year's class, and we'll see how it goes. Finally, the Washington Wizards. The season is a throwaway. Why would this season be a throwaway? You've got all these young players on the team. This is the most... No, I'm not going to say promising season the Wizards have had in a while, but this is the one with the clearest direction they've had in a while. So Wizards, much like the Charlotte Hornets, new regime in place, and the regime is making the moves that a good franchise should make, right? So we're like, okay, we're watching you, Washington. Don't be a poverty franchise anymore. Do the right things. Like, oh yeah, we're doing the right things. And I'm squinting at you, though, because I'm like, yeah, I know you are, but I'm waiting. I'm watching because I know historically you're going to fuck it up. So I guess we'll see, but... They've got all these interesting young players. Maybe none of them are like franchise level player or anything. That's totally fine, right? But you got some players that you think could be interesting long-term pieces. Two of them right here. Alex Sarr, Koulibaly. I think Trey Johnson is a really interesting one. All the guys after that, kind of meh. By the way, I was at the Mall of America this last weekend. I was hooking myself up with some new shoes. I walked into the NBA store there, and, you know, I'm looking at jerseys or whatever. They got... The first thing I see when I look at Wizards jerseys is an AJ Johnson jersey. I was like, the fuck? They got AJ Johnson jerseys here? I was like, holy shit. that's nuts. They had an Alex Sarr one there too or whatever, but I was like, what the hell? Who printed this AJ Johnson jersey? No offense to the kid or anything. I was just like, really? I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, no, the Wizards, like, they're gonna get their young guys out there. They got some vets around them and everything. I have questions about the coaching staff and everything, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, just enjoy young players hopefully getting better. Tank again this season. Try to get a top pick that'll be a franchise player the next year. That's the hope, and that's all you can really do. So no, this season isn't a throwaway. But anyway, that was our overreactions to the 2025 NBA offseason. I know this is a longer video. I figure one more before we get into the season preview. Again, that's premiering on Monday. That should be a lot of fun. We're getting back into the spreadsheets, and we're talking a bunch of stuff. Each team's going to get a video, so I'm really, really excited to dive into that with you guys. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the longer form content. I know that my YouTube channel sometimes becomes more of a one-person podcast at times because your boy just can't shut the fuck up ever. I'd always like to do videos with other people and just talk about things, but I'm not like on YouTube enough to figure out who those people would be. So I don't know, things to think about as the channel continues to grow and we go into covering our third season like we talked about. But anyway, appreciate you guys as always. Let's move on to the comments of the video. Alrighty, y'all, the comments of the video, and I'm saying comments for a reason because there's a lot of good comments on my most watchable NBA teams for the 2025-2026 season. Go watch that one if you haven't already. It's just me talking about, like, what teams am I most looking forward to watching this year. There was a lot of really good comments on this one because, again, we kind of only have the sweats in at this point of the year, right? And people that are really watching the channel, so I really appreciate my core audience kind of being there for this. Shout out Johnny Box here for saying, I'm in an abusive relationship with the Bulls and I cannot escape, nor will I escape. cape. Yep, I'm glad that we kind of enjoyed those moments in the video. R. Howard here had a really smart comment, just kind of talking about the Hornets and their situation. I thought was really good. Let's see, what else do we have here? Liam here, who's a frequent commenter, was talking about, like, watchability. Coaching goes a long way with that, which I totally agree with. You got a good conversation going here with some people. Pagey here talking about Lakers for hope, Bucks for chaos, Nets for passing and not shooting. I'm totally with that. Slumdog here saying we need more high-pitched voice banter. I gave you a little bit in this video, so there you go. I'll try not to force it ever. Let's see. Sky here saying, AVC, I can't believe you're not excited to watch Danny Wolf drop absolute dimes with the Nets this year. Fuck you. I laugh because he's the only one on the Nets you're really excited about. Andrew Alexander here asked, like, does your ranking change halfway through the season? And I was like, honestly, dude, every day it pretty much changes because I just get curious about shit. But for the most part, the list I'm sure will stay somewhat consistent. What else do we got here? I don't even know how to say your name right here. That said, please find a new tier list template. Half these logos are out of date. That makes me want to do it even more to keep the one that I have. And then we have, I just responded to this one before recording. Lakers in top tier. That's all you need to know about this list. BS. I don't know what the fuck that means, but whatever. Like, if that's supposed to be a diss, I guess, like, fuck you. But anyway, no, I appreciate it as always. I appreciate the conversations in the comments. If you want to have more great conversations about basketball, go join the Discord. Link's in the description here. We got people talking on there all the time. Go join the rest of the basketball sweats. But anyway, I appreciate you guys as always. Have a wonderful weekend, and Monday season preview starts. Take a guess in the comments who you think the first team we're going to cover is, because I've already got the list and the order at which I'm going to post things in. So take a guess as to which team is going to get posted first. Anyway, I appreciate it. We'll talk later. Bye.